Welcome in, Commanders family, to a special camp edition of Commands. And I'm live here, Brian Cooper Jr., here with the man, Fred Smoot, my brother. Everybody else has been out here with me. Tanner, Logan, it's your first time out here. How you feeling?
Save the best for last. And
always.
When you see me, it's a signal that football season is here.
Yeah.
All right, it's here. Can you smell the grass? You see the players out here moving around. This is a signal. Like, the one thing about it, it happens in sessions. It started with the draft at the end of the season, and then you get into the small camps, and then you start the mini camps, and then, before you know it, training camp is here. So football's in the air right now.
Man, it's so fun walking down here with y'all, because I've got to do it separately, right? Me and Logan did it, and me and Tanner did it. And as soon as y'all get in this environment, as soon as y'all see this field right here, man, something changes. There's a spark that hits all y'all eyes, man. Talk about that a little bit, and just what it means to you to be able to still be so involved with this team and this game even after you're playing years.
Man, that's the thing about it. It gives you the little jitters. I wish I still could do it. I wish I could go back. I wish I could play for Dan Quinn. You know, Coach Quinn, you know, that's what you see. And when you see the referees out here now, that tells you it's going to go to another level. When you see all the players here, and not just the players from last year, all the new additions. We walked out here, we saw Debo Samuels while we was walking down. We saw some of the rookies while we was walking down. So just to see the new additions to this team, it makes me excited for what's to come when the season starts.
And we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on the new additions. We're going to touch on rookies. We're going to touch on you being a rookie, because out of all the guys, you were the only one that was actually drafted here. So you have
Thank you. Pure.
Oh, my God.
I was born here.
And you left, and then you came back, so that's some love, too.
No, that's what teenagers do. They leave home and they come back sometimes. It happens. But, you're right. You're like, from day one, I have been in this building and watching this building change the way that it's changing. And we talked about this. We got this new grass field here. This used to be turf. Some of the worst turf in the world. All right? And we never practiced on it. So to see this field being used and to see all the coaches around it, man, it does wonders, man, for the spirit.
And all that happens, right? All of these changes come with the new ownership, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. You talk about these new additions, these new faces.
Yeah.
Every single one of them that I spoke to during Free Agency Fridays mentioned it was the culture here.
Yeah.
It was what they're building.
Yeah.
It was what Dan Quinn preaches. It was that family atmosphere. All that was here. Have you seen anything like this in this building, what we've seen these last couple of years?
I haven't. I think I can compare it to when Coach Gibbs came back. When Gibbs 2.0, when Coach came back, it was a new optimism. Everybody knew he was going to run the ship the right way. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. I got a chance to sit down and interview Will Harris on Get Loud the other day. And he said, I was in New Orleans Saints, but I'm peeking around the corner. I'm looking because I can see it. I can feel it. When we played them, I can see it. I can feel it. And I know football players. Everybody want to be a part of a winner, especially when they see in the rebirth of something. All right, this one thing about it, do not get it twisted. The history of the Washington football team, period, has always been a long, great history, and I think a lot of people forgot about that.
Yes.
And now these kids are reminding them this is how it's supposed to be.
And we talk so much about the culture and the changes and all that, but I don't think enough is made of how fast it happened. How quickly Dan Quinn was able to come here and galvanize this whole team and get everybody on the same page. Man, as a player, as somebody who was playing with the best coach in the NFL, how valuable is that to have a guy at the helm, have a leader as a player coming into that locker room knowing, hey, this guy got our back?
Well, first of all, he came in and set the tone. He didn't just set the tone. He came in and set expectations. After he set those expectations, he put some veterans in this locker room, the Bobby Wagners, some guys that he knew, the Frankie Louvu, that were going to come in here and show these guys. This is how you play championship football. This is how you practice championship football. This is how you prepare when you're talking about taking care of your body. This is how you prepare when you what you put in your body is what you get out your body. They're doing everything from the top to the bottom. That's culture. And that culture was set by Coach Quinn. And he didn't just set it with the team and the players. He said it with the coaching staff. He said it with ownership, with everybody. This is how we're going to do this. And you can tell by the last two drafts, he got something when he says, this is what a commander looks like. Man. Because how he drafted the same pattern I think the first year with AP, I think the second year with AP, and they do have a type.
And it starts from the top to the very bottom. All of us are locked in on what this Commanders means. Now, real quick, if you're just now joining us, we are live from practice. Now, you're seeing the guys out there on the field. Now, I asked Tanner this, and I feel like I should ask you this as well. During this moment right now, right? As a player, you're stretching. The music's playing. You out there with your boys. You're getting ready to turn up.
I'm not stretching.
What are you doing?
At this time, if you take this way back to when I was playing, I'm literally, like I told him, when you watch National Geographic, have you ever seen a cheetah stretch before he go hunt? All right? So I ain't need to stretch. Now, what I would do is go around cranking my homeboys up, talking a little trash. Like, I was more entertaining at this time. Like, I was the vibe. We didn't have music. Magic playing at this time. It was just a stretch, so now we kind of yelling out at each other, getting kind of crunk. So I was more the energy, so I was moving around. I never sat in one spot at this time.
I know people hear that, and one, they laugh too. They're not surprised at all. Yeah. But I know you. Yeah. There was a mental strategy to that. Yes. There was a reason you needed to be that loose. Could you explain that a little bit? Because I love the thought process behind it.
Well, here's the thing about it, man. Every player got responsibilities. And if I'm the energy on the team, I can set the energy. Every day, guys don't feel like practicing. But if somebody going to get in there, jolt the energy to make them know, man, this is fun. This is our life. This is what we do. Man, it can make a bad day good. So, like I say, it ain't all about just your play. Like, the one thing about it, I was a great communicator on the defense. Yeah. So just as much as London was calling and barking out the plays, I would echo the plays and bark them out too. So it's different responsibilities to it. And if you're an energy guy, this got to be every day. And that's why I love Coach Quinn. I wish I could have played for Coach Quinn. But all I'm saying is bringing that energy every day, that's relentless. And you got to want to, and you got to be happy inside to do that.
And you also have to feel comfortable, right? Not everybody's going to feel comfortable being themselves and being their true energetic self. When did you learn that it was okay to come as that? Because I know, like, when we talked to Tana mentioned watching London and how he moved a little bit, especially him coming with that Super Bowl experience. What made you know it's okay for me to be like this in these moments, and it's only going to help my team, it's not going to hurt?
Well, think about it. When Marty Schottenheimer drafted me, the first thing he said is, we know you can play, but I want you to be yourself every day. And he said, I want you to feel free to be yourself every day. Don't you short-arm us by not being yourself. We want that personality. We want that swag. We want that style. And I had a good way of making quiet guys talk. I had a good way of picking up guys' energy that got low energy. So these little things, these micro things, it helped the whole bigger picture. And that's what I realized quickly. And I learned that in high school. Because in high school, you got to have some tempo to you. And I always had that tempo, and I always had the swag, and I always believed in myself. And sometimes it could bleed on to other players.
And you're just a people person, too. My grandma used to always say this thing. He's never met a stranger. I feel like that's you. You've never met a stranger.
No, I was one of the few people, and that's hard to believe, but I know this team can do it. I could name every player on our team, what college they went to, the years of experience. I knew every player on the team. I talked to the punter, the long snapper, Ethan Albright. This one right here for you, the red snapper, my guy. So, you know what I'm saying? I knew everybody on the team, every trainer, and everybody that worked in the business.
And there's so much value in there. And again, I want to talk about you being a rookie coming in here because, again, we have some big-time rookies. You were a second-round draft pick. Trey Amos, a second-round draft pick. Josh Connolly. There's guys in here with heavy expectation. But for you, when you came in, you came into a locker room.
Oh, that was packed.
Full of Hall of Famers, man.
Packed
of Hall of Famers.
Yellow jacket, yellow jacket, yellow jacket. I remember the day I walked in the meet room for the first time. Of course, I'm kind of like starstruck, right?
Of course.
I already know Champ because we played in SEC at the same time. Deion had already been talking to me through conversations while I was my senior year in college. So now I'm meeting Darryl Green for the first time, and I'm just sitting down and talking to him. And I remember when I sat down for my first meeting, I looked in the sky for a second. I said, well, where are you going to play? that would hit my mind. You got to realize these are greats. These are some of the best cornerbacks to ever play this game. So I said, the first thing I said to myself, don't worry about where you're going to play. I get to learn from all three of these guys. I get to pick up some traits from each and one of these guys, and they all got a different style of play. So I started to look at the riches that I had right there in my lap, and I just started just learning like a leech from them. And that really made me think that I could have as big as a career if I want to, if I could play in the same backfield as these guys. So they had set the tone. They said it quick.
And you mentioned the word starstruck. Was that hard to shake, though, man? Because, again, that's Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
You've been watching him play. That's Darryl Green. You've been watching him play.
I had already been talking to Prime. So they had kind of
a relationship already.
Yeah, I already had a relationship established with him. But, yeah, a lot of people don't know. For my first couple of days, I wore number 23. Nobody really has pictures of me wearing 23. That was the number that I wore. And then Deion came. We sitting and talking. He was like, I think I'm finna retire. My body need a rest. He was like, here go my locker. He gave me number 21, gave me pretty much everything. So now I'm feeling anointed. I'm feeling anointed by the DB guy. So now I'm really, really, really ready to play ball right there. And then I'm looking around. I had a lot of veterans. I had, think about it, I had Bruce Smith. All right? Beyond just Bruce Smith, I had Coleman, I had Stephen Davis, I had Michael Westbrook, I just had Big Daddy Wilkerson. I had so many guys on this team. You got to realize when I got here, we had four number one picks, I think, on one team. So we had a ton of talent and a lot of guys that was established in this league. So I just started to pick their brain as much as I could and pick up habits from them, how they take care of their body, a little bit of everything, man.
And I really appreciate that perspective, Fred, because to me, there are very distinct parallels between where you were at and where Trey Amos is at, right?
Same parallel.
Same type thing right now. Of course, we don't have a Darryl Green. However, we do. A lot of people are surprised by this. We were third against the pass. Like, that was a real thing. So we had a secondary that was already established. Now Trey comes in wanting to add to that. You've been in those shoes before, man. How valuable, though, was it to have those legends and those guys that have been here before? Because, again, you have Noah Igbenogany, who showed who he really was, a former first-round pick. You have a Lattimore who's showing that he's healthy now. You're coming in. Got to be a little starstruck there, but also got to be a lot of iron sharpening iron.
No, iron sharpening iron. And what he want to do, he's been watching Marshawn Lattimore play since he's been in college. He just watched Mikey Sarenstein go win a national championship and come here and ball out as a rookie. He knows who Jonathan Jones is. He's seen him win Super Bowl after Super Bowl. He knows Will Harris. That's the area that he grew up in. He's familiar with these guys. But I tell you one thing about him, just like me, he don't want to just be in the room. He want to add to the room. He want to let the room know, I can go get the ball back. I can go make plays. And I can also learn from you very quickly while I'm getting this done. So what I think he wants to do, especially a guy like Mikey Sarenstein, he wants to probably just get under him and learn as much as possible.
And that's what I was going to mention, Mikey Sanders, still, because that's just the perfect example of how to come in, make a spot for yourself, make a name for yourself. Because, again, Mikey had to be a little versatile. Mikey didn't really know where he was going to fit in this secondary. He found a way for him. So let's talk about Mikey a little bit, because I know you guys have a special relationship. I know Mikey reached out to you right when he got drafted. He knew about the culture.
Grown man.
He respected. He is so wise beyond his years.
I'm talking about he is a 85-year-old and a 20-something-year-old.
He guarded. He does all the things we do.
This guy right here should be getting AARP because he is there right there mentally, and that's what you want. Now, this is the energy that I'm talking about.
This is you right here.
This is what I'm talking about, the intensity of it, the unification of it, the brotherhood of it. So let's go for a couple hours, and let's get after it. That's how that starts. That's the anticipation of it. If you ain't never been a part of nothing like this, you ain't never been a part of a winner. This is how winners are built right here. That's what I like.
And something I always want to highlight is, one, Dan Quinn's the first one running through. Secondly, the way that the coaches are showing love, the way that the coaches are dancing and vibing. We saw a little jig from Joe Witt Jr. Last week, but that energy, Fred, I got to imagine, is so paramount for what they're trying to accomplish
How
this
you
season.
going to ask me to be intense? How you going to ask me to have intensity when you ain't got intensity? Like, the coach is saying, I'm going to show you what intensity looks like. I want you to give me the same thing. And this is to let you know that football is back in the air right here. Football season back to me. I know everybody going to say we got a little summer break. It doesn't matter to me. Football season is back.
And Fred, that energy is organic, and I think that's why it's so special when we see this, because a lot of these guys, like I've talked to with Logan and Tanner, a lot of these guys are former players. They did that before. I gotta imagine there's a whole nother level of respect as a player when you get to work with somebody that's done it before too.
It's easy to relate to them. Like, not just the X's and O's. It's easy to relate to them when you go to coach and say, Coach, this going on in my private life. How do I defeat this? He could tell you because he been there and he done that. He dealt with that. He dealt with being a player in his fourth year trying to get a contract, a player that's in his first year trying to establish himself. He's been a player trying to move and find a house in a new city. So he understands all the little small nuances. He understands everything, and that's very important. Because what I can say is I did a great job of leaning on the coaching staffs when I got here as a rookie. It wasn't no question that I would not ask.
And honestly, I feel like I'm in that position that I work every day because I get to ask you guys those questions. So when we look at the field, right, we look at what these guys are doing, we see these different individuals. Can you kind of explain what's going on here and what they're trying to accomplish just from your words?
Well, listen, this is all about tackling, right? The first drill is all about tackling, getting down low. Low man win in football. A couple of times y'all see me tackle some guys high like Jerome Bettis. Y'all seen me pay the pipe. Right? I got to ride on that bus for free. Didn't even have to pay no bill or no token or nothing. But they're telling them how to get down low, how to make contact, how to be square, how to lead with the right shoulder, keeping the ball in the inside, just small nuanced things. Like, this is what I really do love about this coaching staff. They don't assume you know the small details. They go through the small details. They are crossing their T's, they are dotting their I's, because once you practice something over and over, it becomes routine things that you do.
I think that was one thing that I spoke to Josh Connolly. He'll be coming out in a couple weeks on Raising Hell with the rookies. He had mentioned it. He said that was what surprised him the most, was the way that he's able to be taught. He really thought he'd come in here and just be on his own devices. He wasn't really sure how the NFL level would be. Now, Fred, tell me, Is that normal, though? Is there places around the league where you do come in and not really get the guidance that we're getting here from Dan Quinn and company?
Well, what did I tell you? I don't believe in such thing as bad kids. I believe in bad parents. Right? So that means the people that's teaching you can kind of mold you into who you're going to be. Yes, in every job in the world, it's good people doing their job, and it's people that not so good people doing their job. And it happens. You don't know it when you're in it because that's all you know. This is the coaching staff I know. I have nothing to compare to if this is the first team I've been on. So it's one of them things, you take the best out of whoever you got, because there's always going to be 1 or 2 or 3 good coaches on their staff somewhere, and you learn from that coach, and you try to pick up some habits from the older veterans. That's where the veterans come in at. If you got the right veterans in there, sometimes your coaching staff don't have to affect the players a lot. When you got a Bobby Wagner in your locker room, they start to dictate the pace, and they start to set the terms.
And as we look across the field over there, Fred, I'm sure you can see him, number 23, Trey Amos. I want to point him out, and I want to look at him for a second, because I want to know what you think. When you look at him, look at that build. Look at how he's coming on the field. Look at the swagger he brings. That's a Joe Witt Jr.
No, I was about to say he's a Joe Witt defensive back. He basically handpicked by Coach Witt. This is the type guy I want. And think about this. When people go back to the history of Joe Witt, you got to go back into the Green Bay Packers when they had Al Harris and Charles Woodson. Do y'all remember all the pick sixes that those guys got? Then you go to the stint with the Cowboys. Oh, he was a big part of why Diggs got paid. All right? Deron Bland developing to the guy he wants to. So now he have a guy with what I call a clean slate protocol. This is a guy that I handpicked. This is a guy I want. And if you see that length, that's what you want. This is what length gives you. If I'm running fade route, if a wide receiver is running a fade route on me, and I have a 6 feet and a half wingspan, put your arms up, BC. Put your arms up. How you gonna do something?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was 6'3". So now the quarterback has to throw the ball with a different type arc, making it hard to complete that route. I don't know if you remember watching Richard Sherman play. Nobody could ever catch fades on him. Man. You could not catch fades on him because of the length, and that's what Joe Witt is going to teach him.
And there's something we see from Trey that we don't see from a lot of guys with that much length. Is that just explosive speed,
ball skills,
and not just that, but something we saw from Mikey early. He ain't scared to go in there and tackle.
No,
he ain't scared to go get a nose in there.
No, he's not, and he's competitive. But it's also his low center of gravity, his leverage, and his speeds in and out of his cut. The change of direction at that size is what you really like to see from Trey Amos, because as a defensive back, you have to be able to turn and go. You have to be able to come out of the blocking and come for a comeback. You got to be able to go in there for a dig. That's all about having loose hips and change of direction skills, and he has both of those.
And Fred, man, I'm having so much fun with you doing this, man. I think this is one of the funnest things I get to do all week. Let's take a look real quick. Let's pause for a second and take a look at our new additions, because especially on the defensive end, we have some big dogs. There's some big guys there. Of course, Laramie Tunsil. Everybody got excited. We got to see him out on the field.
You smell that bacon?
You smell that? Boy, smell like bacon.
Wow, bore me.
Boy, and them boys look good up there. Larry Tunsil's here. Then, of course, we got Debo Samuel Sr. He's a big name for us. Then Javon Kinlaw, big stout dude. I don't know if you've seen him.
No. Have you seen this dude?
Good Lord.
Like, listen to me. That's what you want getting off the bus first. Like, when Kinlaw gets off the bus, that sets the standard. And you got to realize, we seen what happened in Philadelphia in the NFC Championship. We got pushed around. Like, we went and we refortified the trenches. And that's what Kinlaw comes in. And that's why what he brings to the table is size and intimidation.
And you know who else brings size and intimidation
to
our table?
Not him.
It's my guy, Logan Paulson. LP joins us. He's been with us on every single field pass. Go check those out on Commander's YouTube right now. Logan's just the best at this. Logan, welcome back, baby. It's
Thanks.
You got to get to talk to you before the production. But, you know, I've asked you so many questions here. I really want you to play the reporter role as well and talk to Fred, because I know you guys have a back and forth that's unlike no other.
Thank you. Why, thank you.
And it's just this is the part of practice I think is great, right? And we talked about I heard you guys talking about the boys that smell like bacon, right?
I love it. I love
the progression that we're working through, right? We're not working straight drive. We start with straight drive block. We work angle drive block. We work hat placements, and I heard you talking about fundamentals too, because you're loud. I was over there talking to my buddy, and I could hear you blocked away. So all I'm saying is that, like, we're working fundamentals when we're attacking, when we're working tackling, we're working ball security, all those different things. But the O-line for whatever, 2 hours or an hour, every time they're doing a different drill, they're working fundamentals. And I think that's how you cultivate a group that's better than the sum of its parts. And I think that's where the process starts. In the
and we can agree last year that's what they was as a group. They played as a team. And I always say that the offensive line is the epitome of a boy band. They have to be in step, in tune with each other. And if they're not, you can't protect against these pass rushers in the league if you're not hand and foot together like that.
And Logan, one thing I talked to Fred about and Tanner about, and I don't think I got to talk to you about it yet, was that stretching period. These two guys both gave you very different things on how they mentally got ready.
What do you think
at that point?
What do you think I was doing during the
talking?
Yeah.
What do you think
I
Taylor
think
was
you're
doing?
talking to everybody. You're talking to the trainer. You're going over the guys on the sideline.
Everybody. And that's what I told him, Logan. I didn't need to stretch because you've never seen a cheetah stretch before he go hunt. All right?
Yeah, well, I needed to stretch. I'll tell you that.
So, Logan, what were you doing mentally, man? Because I feel like you three are very different people, but you all came and prepared the same type of way.
So I'd get out a couple minutes early, probably 10, 15 minutes early, and work through all the footwork I needed to use for the day, whether it's a new pass protection, new route, new drive block, new technique, or, hey, we're going to get a different front. I got to make sure my footwork's lined up for that. I didn't want the first time doing it to be an individual or to be in the period live in practice. So then I was already a little bit lathered, and as I got older, man, the warm-up became more and more important, became longer and longer, right? Because those hamstrings, man, as you know, Fred, they get a little tight.
That's why I started out with the hot tub.
Yeah.
Like, before I even hit the field, I'm getting in the hot tub. I want to get loose as possible, especially when you're in this heat right here. You haven't been competing at the highest level, so you don't want to just go up and down with how you turn on. So I think you got to really, really warm yourself up.
And, you know, I'd love coming out to practices. You always find little gems, right? So they're working special teams, the offensive line's doing stuff, defensive line's working stuff. I look over there, I see Frankie Louvu. He's working on one-on-one pass rush moves with Ryan Kerrigan.
Yes.
I think like that's something that I love about the guys they've brought into this group is they're always trying to find inches.
Nuances
to get better. Because what's Frankie going to do? He's going to rush the passer.
Thank you.
Who rushed it better than Ryan Kerrigan in Commander's history?
Yeah.
Man.
Nobody. He's the guy, right? So I want to pick him for every piece of information he's got.
Yeah.
And Ryan's such a good coach, so why not take advantage of this? How many times have you been on a team, Fred?
Yeah.
And all the starters go chill on the sideline.
And sit on the sideline and do nothing.
Here.
Like, and it was part of the culture. Not meaning you had a bad coach.
No, that's right.
That just was part of the culture. They don't let no minute go unturned. They don't let no minute go unused out here. They understand we need to be working on something at all times, at all points. And I like how most of the veterans, too, are part of special teams. Like, that's the heart and soul of a team. I always tell you can judge a team by how they play special teams. And we were a very good special teams last year.
And Logan, I'm glad that you pointed that out with Louvu because we caught up with him on media day, and the first thing that I think a lot of people noticed was he added size. Yeah. And you got to imagine that added size is due to him maybe being expected to rush the pass a little more, Logan?
I mean, I think that's his role, though. You know, like I think they want to see him. He's not the same player, but in that Micah Parsons role.
Yeah,
one of the things, like a couple years ago when Micah Parsons was so devastating, it was like, is he a stand-up linebacker? Is he a rusher?
Is he dropping?
It messes with the offensive line and the offenses in general's targets. It's like, how are we targeting this protection? So I just think it's one of those things where it's like if he can get 5% better in that role, it makes the defense 10% better because it gives them it schematically it impacts the opposing offense so dramatically. And I think the great thing is if you get more guys that can do stuff like that. And we talk about those backup linebackers. We talk about Will Harris, guys that have some flexibility. Like this is where that shows up because it makes it harder for the offense to say, here's a safety, here's a nickel, here's a rush linebacker. It's like we don't know who's who. How do we get this run targeted?
And Fred, just like you had Darryl Green to set the tone for you, Louvu, of course, has Bobby Wagner. Louvu expressed how much of a blessing it was to have Bobby Wagner back in the fold to get them to see them running back. But I know you particularly are very excited to see that duo running back.
Man, the one thing about linebacker.
I mean, who isn't excited, though?
I would say.
I mean, Fred's excited about everything, but like.
Listen, those two guys set the tempo. Those two guys make people follow their lead. And they the yin and the yang to each other. Bobby is quiet and methodical and say, follow me by what I do. And Frankie Louvu is loud, exciting, and energetic and want everybody to have that intensity. And when you got that second level that can run sideline to sideline like these two guys can do, it makes the defense a little bit different. And it makes it, to me, makes it special. All right, because you can cover all you want to and you can rush the pass all you want to. But if you can't stop the run in this league, you cannot be a legit playoff contender year in and year out.
And now, Fred, we're looking at the offensive line right now, but however, I have been looking all over the field because I was trying to find number 2.
Yeah.
Lattimore.
He
Everybody very,
look
very
good in
excited
it.
to see how
He
he
look
looks.
good.
You like the 2?
I like the 2 on it. I like the 2 on it.
Now, he is all the way across from where they are playing right now, so I don't think we can show. I think we're showing the offensive line. However, I had to bring him up, but I wanted to make sure I saw him first before bringing it up. Man, so good to see him out here helping.
Yeah, most definitely, man. That's what you want. You want a guy, this guy probably ain't had this point in a year in the last 3 years because he's always had an injury or something going on, and people don't know how much that can shorten your season and stall your maturation of getting better. So him getting out here, being in Joe Witt's defense another year, starting in camp now, I'm sure now, Logan, he feels more like one of the guys than he could ever do coming in the middle of the season.
And just talk about, like, we talked about how we've been on teams where guys will just go chill on the sideline. Guys that miss, like, I don't need to, this is whatever. He's with the coach right now.
Yeah.
He's doing drills during special teams period. He's getting better. They're doing, like, this late hand ball drill, you know what I'm saying? And one of the things I love about the entire DB group, right, is that they all have this ability to track the football late in the down, right? And so to see him him getting that working, to see him kind of getting involved. Like everyone's like, oh, he wasn't here for OTAs. Like, how happy is he? But like, I see this work when he's here.
Yes.
And I think that kind of covers not covers it up, because you can't replace some of that stuff, but it shows that he's like buying in more.
Yes.
He's changing the type of player he is, and I think that's extremely important. So I love when I see the veterans on the side during special teams period getting a little bit better. It gets me juiced up.
That just goes to the Coach Quinn culture. You know, no wasted time, no wasted men. Let's get out here. Let's go make some plays, and that's what I think Latimer is bought in. I think he's bought into it.
And it's funny because I see Mike Sanderson over there, and he's a young guy, but is he setting that tempo? Like, hey man, I'm going to work in the break.
Yeah.
And then does Lattimore see him and say, oh shoot, I can get some work in.
Why not?
It speaks to the quality of guy you have throughout the roster, and and I think that's one thing about Dan when I played with him is there's no leadership class.
Yeah.
Everybody's a leader.
Everybody.
All, come on with me.
That's what the commander is.
Yeah.
They all come from that same cloth. They all have that similar personality. And we talked about Mikey Sanderson a little bit, and he made a few headlines because they saw him get even extra work with Debo. So he's not just working with defensive backs. He's saying, hey, there's an all-pro receiver here as well. Let me get this work. Let me find some new things. We haven't got to play together yet. I haven't got to pick his brain. Fred, I feel like you were that type of player as well.
I got to pick your brain. Like, I want to know.
But he picked your brain about anything.
Yeah,
anything.
No, that's
like
what it is.
What you having for dinner,
what
kind of coverage you're playing, how you run that route.
Do you drink Kool-Aid? I want to know these things. Like, I remember with Michael Westbrook, because he was a big receivers, and I could really play with the big receivers, but I used to pull him over to the side before and after practice so he could box me out. I can get used to being boxed out.
Interesting.
Then I go get the smaller receiver. Now I want you to play me in space so I can make sure that I'm low and coming out of my breaks the right way. Like, the one thing about a player, to be the best player you can be, you got to be honest with yourself first about your flaws and your insecurities, and say, you know what, I can't worry about them. I got to make them better, and I got guys on my team that can sharpen this knife and make me better.
And Logan, I gotta imagine Laramie Tunsil being back as well plays the same effect for all the blockers. He's a guy that these young guys can look at and say, hey, this is how a pro does it. This is how the best in the league does it.
It'll be interesting to watch him because he kind of reminds me of Darryl Green. Like, sometimes you got players that are just so good.
Yeah.
It's like with Julio Jones or Trent Williams.
You can't mimic him.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
Like, he did that, but you can't do that. So I kind of am curious. He's always, like, when I play with him in Houston, one of the most technical players I've ever been around. So I do think there's stuff to be gleaned from him. But I'm also in my mind kind of going, like, there's certain guys that are just too good.
You can't mimic.
And you were talking about him in the bubble the other day, on the media day, like how athletic he is, how athletic his legs are,
how he's built,
and that lets him do stuff that
other players can't do.
That mere mortals can't do. You know what I mean?
I remember sitting in the meeting room after the meeting was over with. Champ Bailey is watching me watch Darryl Green. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, don't.
And
do
I
that.
I'm watching Darryl. I'm finna try to pick up something. He's like, "No, only one person can Darryl Green, and that's Darryl Green." And I'm like, "Why you say that?" He's like, "Do you run a 4-1 flat? Because if you don't, you cannot do what he do." And that's when I understand some guys are just different.
And since we're bringing that up, since we're talking about the offensive line, I know we're seeing DBs right now. However, we got to talk about Brandon Coleman because Dan Quinn made some headlines yesterday. He had said it. We had kind of speculated, but Dan Quinn said we are moving him inside to guard. That is something we've talked about a lot. I don't know if I've seen a guy
about that?
with that much size and athleticism. Fred, speak on why that size and athleticism makes him even more dangerous in the guard position.
Do you remember when the Philadelphia Eagles signed Mekhi Becton and said, "No, you cannot play on this island, but we'll put you at guard"? And he became a Pro Bowl.
That's a great example. That's a great example because they're actually kind of
similar.
They're similar in terms of how they move.
Yeah. And you got to realize if he could survive on that island called a tackle last year, now he's at the guard position. Here go my tackle. Here go my center. Yeah. And do you know the strength of a Brandon Coleman? Yeah. Like, now he's going to be super comfortable in there. And going forward in the run game, he's going to maul people. Like, I feel so good about that move right there. I think that changes this O-line to almost having 4 Pro Bowls. I truly can feel that.
And I think the thing is, like, he played well last year. But the thing that kept jumping out to me is he kind of gave up this soft edge, right? Because he couldn't bend with those elite pass rushers.
Yes.
How do we mitigate that? We move him inside. Let him use that length. He's got 35-inch arms.
Yes.
He's a big old boy. Let him get on the interior where the bend is not an issue. He can still use that tremendous foot speed and quickness to get on guys. So I think this is a natural fit. Like, when I evaluated him, much like Cosme, and I think you had Cosme inside too.
Yes, I did.
I had Cosme as a guard. Coleman as a guard as well. So this just feels like the natural progression. This is what I think the brilliance of Adam Peters, right? We were able to survive last year with Brandon Coleman.
Yep.
But, hey, let's go get Laramie Tunsil.
Let's
draft
upgrade
Josh Connerly,
everything.
right? Let's make sure we can put people in their best spots. And we've talked about it since day one of the offseason. Get those best 5 on the field and get people in their most natural role.
And this change, right, it can't just be affecting Brandon Coleman. We know who it's affecting as well, Josh Connerly Jr.
Yeah,
because he comes in now, and now you say, okay, do you move Brandon inside because you want Connerly to hold one of those tackle positions? Fred, when you look at a guy like Connerly, and we talk about those things with Brandon that make him a perfect guard, what are some of those things about Connerly that make him that perfect tackle.
Ex-running back. We talking about an athlete. Like, have you done the Connerly challenge? Because I haven't done
did.
it. You did it?
No,
Did you complete it?
I still got good knees.
You kind of killed it, though.
Yeah, you killed it.
Crazy, but I don't know how. I don't got no type of pass block. I was a receiver.
I totally understand. He's an athletic guy that can get out there on the edge. He's a guy that can pull in the screen game. He's a guy that can play like. This is what you want. You want athletes at the offensive line, and you want reinforcement. You got to realize, when you got Larry McThompson at one tackle, you got this kid at the other one. But this is what I do like about Coach Quinn. He's going to make him earn that. He's going to make him earn that position like he did with Jaden Daniels, like he did with Mikey Sandersteele. Nothing will be given to you besides that free lunch in the cafeteria. Other than that, nothing will be given to you.
Good lunch.
But it's very good lunch. But that's what I like about him is his athleticism. And as big as he is, he could stand to put on maybe 10 pounds.
It's weird to say someone's skinny at 315, but he's like a skinny 315.
Yeah, he is.
It's the same thing with Tunsil, right? Like I think Tunsil's like 325, but he doesn't look 325. He puts it together. And so I think the thing that Fred, just to piggyback on there, is like he said athlete, but I want big athletes, right? I want dudes that are big, long, athletic, and that's what you're hunting for at the tackle spot. Now, I love seeing the tackles work here, right, with the tight ends and kind of working these combination drills and kind of getting in the nitty gritty of the thing. You know what I'm saying?
I know you love it because
I love it.
You don't take the blocking aspect.
This is what I did every day. This was my thing every day was blocking drills.
You are the reason. That's why I say Bates Motel should thank you, because you are the reason that people appreciate blocking tight ends in this league like they do now.
I hope so, man. I mean, geez, and it's cool to see him getting that work because, again, that's going to be an important part of this. I think that might be the number one thing I'm looking for at the tight end spot is we know Zach's a beast.
Yeah.
We know John's a beast.
Yeah.
We know there's a lot of dudes that can back up Zach, but who backs up John? I think that's the main question is if John gets nicked, who's backing him up? And I think that's where we're going to start to see someone separate themselves. And
that's why I think that being Senate, being that hybrid guy, I can do a little bit of everything.
Love that.
I can block. I can go out there and catch a pass. I can move around. I can play H-back. I can do pretty much everything you need me to do. So I think that gives being Senate a crack to get in there and get more plays.
And Fred, as we look across the field here, everybody's got to comment on this, but you, this is one of those drills where everybody gets to touch the rock, right? Where everybody's out here
routes
doing
on air,
routes and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why there's value in this? Because we've heard from Logan and Tanner, but I'd love to hear from a defensive back.
It's all about time and where to release the ball at. Now I'm learning tempo of certain wide receivers. I'm learning the wiggle of certain wide receivers. I like how they got the quarterbacks all working in unison. I like how everybody gets the ball, because in my time, one person would get the ball.
Just running for fun.
And everybody else just running for fun. But now this actually helps everybody get their timing down. Everybody get the depth of their routes right. And that's what you have to do, especially when you're throwing into zones. If you got the wrong depth, we're going to pick that ball out.
And you know what I love is that, like, routes on air, like an individual, the quarterbacks were on the far side of the field during special teams, so we couldn't show them.
Yeah.
They were working the same progression of this first concept.
Yeah.
And they worked the next concept. So they've been working this concept for the last, how long have we been out here? 30 minutes?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get that incredible attention to detail. There's not too much volume of the offense in. Cliff's done a good job with the install. Now I can own it, right?
Yeah.
I know my progression.
It becomes second nature.
Exactly right. And so I love seeing them touch it. With, they got cones and coaches over there, and they got players on here on air, then they're going to run those same drills one more time in 7-on-7, probably hitting in team, and I just think the repetition, man, is what made this offense so good last year. And so if they can keep it going in this period, I love that.
And fellas, you know what's crazy is we have done so much talking, but we have not spoken at all about Jaden Daniels. Isn't that kind of crazy how we can have all this stuff to talk about? That's a great problem to have.
That's a great problem to have. That means that AP is cooking. I remember last year I told him, let grandma cook. You got to be patient. If you want that Thanksgiving meal, that meal takes time, maybe days. All right? So the great part about it, he's added so many pieces to this that Jaden Daniels just becomes the ultimate chess piece.
And we might not be able to see Jaden Daniels right now because there's a few more extra bodies on the field, but that is because we have coaches from all across the DMV here repping practice. And that is one thing I want to touch on, guys, because that is something that Dan Quinn, AP, even Josh Harris has done in an amazing way. Is understanding that, yes, we're not from here, just like y'all, but this is our community. That community is everything for us.
This is us.
Become part of the ilk of being a commander. We talk about what a commander is. This community is a huge part of that, Fred.
And this is a football community. All these coaches out here, they all have a level of football that they would love to get at. They're not just sitting here watching practice. They're sitting here picking up notes from this practice so they can take it back and practice with their high school, with their college. And that's what you want. You want one big black brainchild in the DMV when it comes to football. And this is how you get it. This is how you reincorporate everybody into the fold and say, we are all Commanders. And this is how you get this done. Because this is what football looks like right here. You never know. One of these coaches right now could be coaching a kid that we probably draft in 4 or 5 years. You don't know that. Nobody knows.
But I love that too, Fred. You said the brainchild, right? Talk about the best way to build a fan base.
Yeah.
Who loves football? High school football coaches. Who are they exposed to? High school football players.
Yes. Yep.
Who are they exposed to? Their families, right? Their
Yes.
communities, their high schools. And so they go back to school and they say, oh, man, the Commanders were great hosts. And then they bring their kids out here and they say, oh, the Commanders did this X, Y, Z for me. It's the same reason you go out in the community all the time.
Yeah.
This is a great way to build this community, this culture around the Commanders, and I think it's such a simple thing to do. And again, we're not going to compare to people in the past, but it's nice. It's very refreshing to see.
But it goes a long way. You just don't know how much it means to these coaches to be out here.
And it doesn't just go a long way for the coaches, but it also feeds back into us.
Yeah.
The players get something out of this. We get something out of this. The entire community gets something out of it. So it feeds both ways, which is just so awesome.
And you got guys like Kendrick Golston out here who's a high school coach right here, Stonebridge, which Logan is a part of their coaching staff. Like, so you got ex-players out here that is winning to head coaching jobs themselves, still trying to get out here and learn information on how Coach Quinn gets it done.
And this is great insight, fellas, especially too, like you said, because Logan does it as well. Like, this is what it's all about, fellas. This is what we hear. We have a lot of fun. We love to talk the game. We love to talk the drills. But this is really what it's all about. The way the community has gotten behind this new regime and the way this new regime has gotten behind the community. And, of course, a lot of that has to do with number 5, Jaden Daniels. We see him right there, Fred, before we get going. It's crazy. We've been doing this for 40 minutes. How you feeling getting to see him in person, seeing him up close? Send us home, baby.
Well, Jedi 5, a.k.a. the Force Multiplier, he's only going to get better. What if I told you his rookie year was probably going to be one of his worst years of football because the maturation started to happen. The game starts to slow down. We see the game start to slow down from him from week 8 to week 16. Like, he started to grow in ways that was totally different. And if you think about it, he took on the running game task, too, at the end of the year. So he was not only our leading passer, he was our leading rusher. This is going to be scary to me because it's the second year in Coach Kingsbury offense. So that means they get to layer it. All right, so whatever they couldn't do last year, maybe because I had to keep a tight end here, maybe that's too deep into the playbook. No, ain't no such thing as too deep into the playbook. That's what's going to be scary about this team, right, Logan?
No, I love that. I love that this is an opportunity for him to continue to grow, right? And the thing that I get nervous about, man, the strength of schedule is tougher. How's he going to handle year 2?
No fair dodging.
Watching him out here, watching his footwork, watching the release. He's sharp, man. He's going to be ready to go, and that's exciting.
And this is about it for us, Commanders fan. But before we go, man, I do have to give a special thanks to Logan Paulson because he has done this with us 3 weeks straight. He comes in just to come do this, but also because he loves watching practice. So, Logan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, brother. No, straight up, man, because it has just been great, and the fans have loved it.
You did not have to thank
But you know what, Fred? I'm going to thank you as well because I know how you get. I know you got little brother syndrome. Fred, thank you so much for doing this, man. I was so excited to do this with you, brother.
Anytime, brother.
It's just excellent. Inside Commanders family, we do this all for y'all, and as you know, we have content for you all week long. We got Command Center. We got the Get Loud podcast. We got Command Center podcast. We got Next Man Up. We got Raise Hill with the Rookies. We do all of this for our Commanders family because y'all deserve it. The best fans in the NFL. For Logan Paulson, for Fred Smoot, for all these coaches out here, I'm Brian Colwood Jr., and we out. We'll see y'all next time.